Have you ever been surrounded by people and still felt completely alone? You can be laughing at the right moments, answering questions when they come your way, nodding along and checking your phone just so your hands have something to do. From the outside, nothing looks wrong. You look normal, included, and present. You look like you belong there. But inside, it feels like there's a glass wall between you and everyone else. You can hear them talking, see them smiling, and even talk back like everything is fine, yet somehow no one actually reaches you. That is one of the strangest things about loneliness. It does not always look like sitting alone in the dark. Sometimes it looks like being surrounded by people who know your name, your face, your jokes, and the version of you that shows up for everyone else, while still having no idea where you really are inside. The painful part is not always that nobody is around. Sometimes the painful part is that nobody feels close. This is why loneliness can become so confusing. Most people imagine it as a simple problem. If you're alone, you feel lonely, and if you're with people, you should feel better. So when you're surrounded by others and still feel empty, your brain may start to turn against you. It asks why you're like this, why you cannot enjoy the moment, why you cannot just be normal, and why connection seems so easy for everyone else. But loneliness is not just a measurement of how many people are near your body. It is a signal that your inner world has nowhere safe to go. You can be sitting at a table with friends and still feel separate because the conversation never reaches anything real. You can be in a group chat that never stops buzzing and still feel like no one would notice if the honest version of you disappeared. You can have people who care about you, people who would answer if you called, and people who would say they love you while still feeling like there's an invisible part of you that no one has ever actually met. That invisible part matters. It is the part of you that has thoughts you do not say out loud. It is the sadness you hide because you do not want to ruin the mood. It is the worry you keep turning into humor. It is the exhaustion you cover with a simple, "I'm just tired." It is the version of you that wants to be honest, but does not know whether honesty will be welcomed, ignored, judged, or misunderstood. Loneliness often finds that hidden part first. It does not always attack the public version of you, because the public version may be doing fine. That version knows how to smile, how to reply, how to act interested, how to keep things light, and how to make other people comfortable. The public version can function in a room full of people. But the hidden version is different. It wants something deeper than contact. It wants to feel understood. That difference matters because contact and connection are not the same thing. Contact can happen in seconds. A message is contact. A like is contact. A quick conversation is contact. Sitting beside someone is contact. These things can remind you that people exist around you, but they do not always make you feel emotionally close to them. Connection is different because it requires some part of your inner world to be recognized. It happens when someone understands what you mean without forcing you to explain yourself endlessly. It happens when a person notices that your smile is a little tired, that your silence has a reason, or that your joke might be carrying something heavier underneath it. Connection is not just talking, it is the feeling that someone has found you beneath the surface. This is why small talk can feel so strange when you're lonely. It fills the silence, but it does not always fill the emptiness. You can talk about work, food, plans, people, weather, traffic, shows, drama, and everything floating around the outside of life, while the part of you that needed closeness remains untouched. Nothing terrible has to happen for this to hurt. No one has to insult you, reject you, or leave you out. You may even have a decent time. You may laugh at a few things, enjoy parts of the conversation, and go home thinking the day was fine. Then the room gets quiet, the phone goes still, and the same hollow feeling returns. That feeling can be painful because your brain expected people to make it disappear. When they do not, the loneliness feels even more personal. It can make you wonder whether the problem is not the situation, but you. One reason this happens is that many people are not actually known by the people around them. They are known by the role they learned to play. Maybe you became the funny one because sadness made people uncomfortable. Maybe you became the quiet one because speaking honestly never seemed to change anything. Maybe you became the strong one because weakness did not feel safe. Maybe you became the helpful one because being needed felt more reliable than being understood. Maybe you became the easygoing one because having needs once made people pull away. At first, these roles may not feel fake. They may feel useful. They may even protect you. A role gives people something simple to understand, and it gives you a way to move through life without risking too much rejection. The problem is that a role can become a hiding place. Over time, people may begin to love the version of you that costs the most energy to maintain. That is when loneliness becomes complicated. You are not completely unseen because people do see something. They see the version you have become good at showing. They may like you, invite you, laugh with you, depend on you, or enjoy your presence. But if the version they see is always edited, softened, strengthened, or performed, then the real you may still feel alone underneath it. You can be liked and still feel unknown. You can be wanted and still feel unseen. You can be surrounded by people who enjoy your presence while quietly wondering whether they would stay if you stopped being useful, funny, calm, strong, or easy to be around. That question creates distance. It puts space between who you are and who people think you are. The bigger that space gets, the harder it becomes to feel close to anyone, because closeness requires at least a small amount of truth to cross from one person to another. It does not require every secret. It does not require telling everyone your deepest wounds. It does not require turning every conversation into a confession. But some honest part of you has to be allowed into the room. Something real has to be said, shown, or felt. Without that, people can be near you for years and still never meet the parts of you that needed love the most. The difficult part is that honesty does not always feel safe, especially if your past taught you to hide. Maybe there were times when you tried to express pain, and someone made you feel dramatic. Maybe you opened up and the other person changed the subject. Maybe you needed comfort and received advice instead. Maybe you showed weakness and later regretted it because someone used it against you. After enough experiences like that, the brain starts building rules to protect you. Do not show too much, do not need too much, do not make people uncomfortable. Keep the mood light. Stay pleasant, useful, normal, and safe. Those rules may protect you from rejection, but they can also protect you from connection. The same wall that keeps pain out can also keep closeness out. So you sit with people, talk with them, smile with them, and act like everything is fine while something inside you remains hidden behind the wall, waiting to see whether anyone is safe enough to notice. Most people do not notice, not necessarily because they are cruel or uncaring, but because they are also performing in their own way. They are carrying their own fears, managing their own image, hiding their own loneliness, and trying to get through the day without revealing too much. Sometimes a room is full of people who all want something real, but everyone is waiting for someone else to risk being honest first. So the room stays full and everyone stays alone. Modern life can make this even harder because it gives us constant contact that can look like connection from a distance. Someone watches your story, likes your post, reacts to your message, sends an emoji, or says you should catch up soon. For a moment, it feels like proof that people are there. Then the moment passes, the screen goes quiet, and the deeper part of you is still waiting. Being noticed is not the same as being known. Being replied to is not the same as being understood. You can be visible to hundreds of people and still emotionally close to almost no one, because the version of you that people interact with online is often even more edited than the version they see in person. The brain notices this difference. It notices when you're receiving attention but not intimacy. It notices when people are interacting with your surface while your inner life remains untouched. When that happens for long enough, loneliness can start to feel less like a temporary emotion and more like a private truth about who you are. You may begin to think you are hard to know, hard to love, or somehow built to feel separate from everyone else. But feeling lonely around people does not prove that you are impossible to understand. It may mean you have spent too long surviving through a version of yourself that no longer lets anyone close enough. This does not mean the answer is to tell everything to everyone. Not every person deserves access to every part of you. Some people are good for laughter, but not vulnerability. Some people are good for advice, but not comfort. Some people are good for distraction, but not depth. Some people can sit beside you without being able to truly sit with you. That does not make every relationship meaningless. It just means not every connection can carry the same weight. A healthier way out of loneliness may begin with learning where each person can actually meet you and slowly allowing the right people to see more than the version you used to survive. Not all at once and not in a dramatic way. Sometimes it starts with one honest sentence instead of the automatic answer. Sometimes it starts with admitting that you're not as okay as you look. Sometimes it starts with letting silence be real instead of rushing to fill it with a performance. Loneliness does not always leave through a huge life change. Sometimes it leaves in small moments. It leaves when someone asks how you are and you answer a little more honestly than usual. It leaves when someone remembers a detail you thought no one noticed. It leaves when you laugh without forcing it, sit in silence without feeling judged, or say something true and realize the other person stayed. Those moments matter because they remind the brain that connection is still possible. So if you feel lonely even around people, it does not automatically mean you're broken, ungrateful, or impossible to love. It may mean you're tired of being around people without being truly known. It may mean you're tired of performing a version of yourself that keeps everyone comfortable except you. It may mean there's a real part of you that wants to come out, but it is still afraid of what will happen when it does. A crowded room cannot replace one honest connection. 1,000 messages cannot replace feeling understood. Being included is not the same as belonging. Belonging is different because belonging is not just being allowed into the room. It is feeling like your inner world does not have to wait outside the door. It is the feeling that you do not have to shrink your sadness, exaggerate your happiness, or edit your personality just to remain acceptable. It is the quiet relief of existing without constantly proving that you are easy to love. Maybe that is why loneliness hurts so much. Underneath it, there is still a human part of you that knows connection is possible. It is still searching for the place where you do not have to translate yourself so much, where you do not have to perform being okay, and where you do not have to stand behind glass while everyone else seems close. Because loneliness is not always the absence of people. Sometimes it is the absence of being understood.